NPC Ghost, the way this one works is we, at the event begin play, we grab the mesh of the ghost, we make sure it has no collision, we make sure it is hidden, we grab the particle system, we make sure that is hidden, we grab the point light and the new color for the light, and we make sure the color is inset editable. That way we can change it because we want the light for the ghost to show up as other colors other than just blue. It is currently set, the standard light color is a light blue. You can obviously change any other color you want within the level, but to start, light blue. That's the standard color. Any component begin overlap trigger, we're going to make sure it is the player pawn. Branching, if it is, we show the mesh. Once the player ends the overlap trigger, we hide the mesh, wait a second, show the particle system for half a second, and we destroy the actor and we double check to make sure the UI has been removed. In event talk, we are getting the talk index, which we have set to -1 because in blueprints everything starts at 0, not 1. So we make sure it is at -1. Then when the player presses E, it increments it by 1, going to 0. So if the talk index is greater than dialogue, which is 0, we then have it play through. So the true. We then add the widget to the viewport. That way the player can see it. And we make sure the dialogue is also instant editable, and going through this, getting the length, getting the length and getting a copy. That way we can put it on the screen, make sure it is the correct dialogue. The reason why it's instant editable is because during the level we want to make sure that when we're building the level, each NPC that we have can have their own unique dialogue. PB Ghost Wall, what we want to do is we want to have an event begin play that's grabbing one of the ghost walls, the first ghost wall here that is gray. We want to make sure it is the one that is gray and the one the player will be seeing at the most. We grab the ghost wall, we set the ghost wall to be to make sure the collision is on, we make sure the color is gray, then we grab the secondary ghost wall the player will not be seeing that much. We set it to hidden and we set the collision to there's no collision. Then on event interact, which is the player walks up to the wall and presses E on it. Then we're grabbing the main ghost wall and we're making sure there's no collision, and we change the color to ghost blue, which is a transparent blue, see-through blue. On begin overlap, when the player walks into the trigger box, we are getting the second ghost wall, and we're making sure it is no longer hidden. So, and for half a second, and then it just becomes hidden again. That way, the player will see a flashing blue when they go near a wall or an object they can interact with. On end overlap, we will be setting the normal wall back to being, giving it to a collision, and making sure it is gray again. In the alter bowl, it's a lot more simple. We're going to have a viewport that's going to show the bowl with 3 circulars here that bleed 1, bleed 2. Inside the event graph at begin play, we just make sure that those are all set to hidden. Then when the player presses E on it, we wait 2.3 seconds. The then bleed 1 will then be shown, then 2, and then 0. That way it looks like there's a bleeding effect, and that way it looks like it is running through as liquid would. It's flowing. In PB Knife, we had the event begin play where I'm going to quickly go over to viewpoint and show everything off. This little cube here is called the red, and the static mesh is just the stone tablet that the player is carrying for the majority of the level. Alright, let's jump back to the event graph. At the event begin play, we hide the red and we make sure the color is concrete gray. We're also making sure the static mesh is set to hidden as well. When the player presses E upon the little table thing here with the knife, PB knife, the static mesh is shown, the timeline plays, the cone goes up, which is just the knife going up and then back down. After a 2-second duration, it goes back down. Then the red is shown, and it is shown and turned into having the red color. That way it looks like blood. After 0.4 seconds, the static mesh, which again is just the ghost stone tablet, is hidden again. That way it looks like the player placed it down and then removed it. Then we have a PB button, which the button is what is actually used to open the door. When the player presses interact on the button, we wait 2.3 seconds, and we play the animation of the button pushing in and pulling back out, which then we grab the actor class for door, PB door. We're doing it for each loop. We're getting the target of the door value, and we're getting the button value, which is incidentable, and we're making sure these are the same. So if the door value inside the PB door and the inside PB button, as long as the button value and the door value are the same, we branch and we open the door. In PB door, we have an event begin play, which just has the text render set to hidden. When the player presses E on the button, the door will then play the timeline of the cube moving up. When the door gets to the top, we will wait 5.3 seconds. Then we will set the actor to hidden, and then we will make sure the door has no collision. If the player interacts with the door without opening it, if the player tries to just click on the door to open it manually, the text render will be shown. The text render says blood sacrifice required. After 0.5 seconds, the text render is then hidden. There's a countdown here because I wanted to make sure that the countdown, that the player can only interact with the door 3 times and then they can't do it again. So the countdown by default, well, not by default, but by our settings is 3. So 3 minus 1 minus 1 minus 1. Once the countdown reaches 0, we destroy the trigger box so the player can no longer interact with the door that way.